Well, first and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight for our Medicare discussion. You know, we always tell our clients that we just don't help you, first and foremost, we're financial planners. We just don't help you achieve your financial goals. We help you with all areas of your life when it comes to financial planning, whether that's everything from estate to things like Medicare. As a matter of fact, one of the biggest things, or most often what I'm asked about, is Social Security and Medicare, because they're one of the most more confusing and complex areas of financial planning, at least trying to understand it for that much. Please come on in. If you want to get something to drink, it's over there as well. Welcome. Please come on in. Part of that is bringing in very smart and knowledgeable people like Matt Gold in to have discussions with our clients about areas like this. And Matt's expertise is in Medicare. So I won't, I'll let him introduce himself and tell you his background and how he came to the spot. But without further ado, I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve. I'm a little bit warm, so I'm just going to take this off. So, I just have a funny story about my jacket, but I think we'll save it for some other time. But anyway, thank you to Evensky, Katz, and Foldis for allowing me the opportunity to chat with you today about Medicare. You know, Medicare is a lot of things to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, it's really health insurance, and there are a lot of choices to pick from. And in the world that we're in, there's always an opportunity to find things online, and you could probably do all right by doing that. But I've made it my job to really figure it out and to understand it and to share it. And so I want everybody to understand that my goal is not to sell you product. My goal is to educate and inform, and so that you can make the right decision for each one of you. Because at the end of the day, you guys have to sleep with yourselves, right? And from my perspective, I have to sleep with myself and feel good about what I've done to help you. So that being said, what I typically do is I go over Medicare from the 1,000-foot view. I don't get too specific. I go and talk in broad strokes, and I try and navigate the world so you can say, wow, that is clear to me. I understand it. I know why I'm going down this path or this path, so that when I have dinner with my friend who tells me I made the biggest mistake in the world, I can look back at them and say, no, I made the right choice. I'm sure we all have that friend that we all know about. So, that being said, I have a question or two for you before I start. Who is already in Medicare? Okay, so most of you, or more than half anyway. Okay, and the rest of you are going to be going into Medicare soon? Okay, so a handful. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to, like I said, explain Medicare in the big picture and help people understand just how it looks. So what I like to do is I like to talk in a very special visual way, so you can actually see what I'm talking about. And I thank you for putting out the pads, Natalie. I appreciate if she's here, but whatever, for putting them out, because sometimes this can help. I don't recommend that you take lots and lots of notes, because you can always call me, and you can always refer to my website and look up your specific questions. That's easy, so don't get too bogged down with taking notes. But in the big picture, what I'm trying to say is I'll give you some guidelines and some little pointers to write down so you can see and visualize what Medicare looks like. And so that being said, let's go for that helicopter ride. So Medicare is, in the big picture, is for 65-year-olds. You enter into Medicare. There's Medicare Part A and Medicare Part B. And what I do is I ask you to draw a triangle. So if you want to draw a triangle, go ahead and draw a triangle. And at the top of the triangle, we have Medicare Part A and Part B. And what I say is Part A is your hospitalization coverage. It covers you at 100%, and it's given to you at no charge. Then there's Medicare Part B. That's called your medical coverage, sometimes commonly referred to as your doctor's coverage. It covers you 80% of the way, and right now for most people, it's $104.90 per month. I say most people because most people earn, when they're 65 and older, an income that's less than $85,000 as a single person and $170,000 as a married couple. So anything less than that, you're going to be paying a $104.90 per month for 80% coverage. Clear so far? Okay. If you earn more than those numbers, I actually have the graph here with me today so you can take a peek at it, but there are tranches. The more you earn, the more you get to pay. Don't thank me, I have nothing to do with it, I just educate and inform. So now, once you have Medicare Part B and you're paying for it, you then, if you look at my triangle, you get to choose one of the two other points of the triangle. I always start with the bottom right from your perspective. I'm trying to do it from how you look at me. So the bottom right I call Medicare supplements. Medicare supplements also go by GAP policies or Medigap. 3 names, same thing. Hamburger, chopped steak, ground beef, it's all the same, right? So I'll call it Medicare supplements for today's discussion. In the world of Medicare supplements, there are 11 template plans from which you can choose from. In our market, I'll define our market as South Florida, there's about 30 companies offering upwards of these 11 plans. So you can see very quickly it can get kind of confusing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to explain 2 of the 11 plans. I'm going to explain the least expensive plan and the most expensive plan. And know that the other 9 are somewhere in between. I like to keep it very simple, very basic. So let's talk about the most expensive plan first. All of these 11 plans, mind you, are named by letters. So there's an F plan, there's an N plan, there's an A plan, there's all these different plans. They're all called by letters. I call it alphabet soup, but that's my 2 cents. So with the F plan, I've nicknamed the F plan F for Fantastic. Why do I call it fantastic? Because it's the easiest to understand. You pay a monthly premium and you get the 20% coverage that Medicare Part B at the top of the triangle doesn't cover. So in other words, they cover, the Part B covers 80%, then your F plan covers the 20% piece. In our market, prices range from, for a 65-year-old non-smoker, round numbers $260 a month, and then I've seen some plans as high as about $300. And if you're older than 65, it might even be more. The cool thing that I like to think is cool about the F plan is once you have the F plan, there's nothing else for you to pay in reference to medical coverage. So you literally go to the hospital, you go to the doctor, everything is covered. There's no copays, there's no deductibles. You pay your monthly premium and you're done. I call that a pro and a con. A pro being it's so simple to understand and it's nice to know what your expenses are. And the con being it's still a lot of money, right? Because if you're paying the $104.90 for Part B, plus another potentially as much as $300, now you're over $400 a month. It's a lot of money. And that doesn't cover your prescription drug plan, which is the next thing I'm going to talk about in a moment. But still finishing up on the supplement side, I want to talk about some of the pros and cons of supplements. I already told you the pricing, it can be a pro or a con. The other pros to the plan are you do not need to pick a primary care physician. You go anywhere Medicare is accepted. And I mean anywhere in the United States. It doesn't have to be just your backyard. It could be anywhere in the United States. You do not need a referral. You just go into any specialist you'd like to go to and make your appointment. So there you have no geographic limitation, no referrals needed. Oh, and one more thing, you do not need to pick a primary care physician. You go to any primary care physician that accepts Medicare, they'll accept your supplement. That's how this supplement works with the F plan, the most expensive of all the lettered plans. Now I'm going to explain the least expensive plan. The least expensive plan is nothing more than a hybrid version of that F plan. So what do I mean by that? The difference is the premium is significantly lower, but instead of having, which I don't know if I thought I said, there's no deductible. Did I say that? Okay, so there's no deductible for the F plan. On this hybrid version, this low premium plan, the name of that plan is called HDF, or High Deductible F Plan. So here, instead of having a premium somewhere between $260 and $300 a month, the premium is about $75 a month. But there's a deductible. The deductible in this year, mind you, it's set by Medicare every year in December. So I don't know what it's going to be for 2016 at this point. This year, the deductible was $2,180 on the calendar year. In the scheme of things, that's not a lot of money. And if you're healthy, if your wheels are working right now and you're thinking it through, wow, if I don't go to a lot of doctors, this might be an interesting plan for me, because if I'm only paying $75 a month and I can, not visit a lot of doctors because I don't need to, you can save quite a bit of money. Yes?
Just by way of comparison, what was it in 2014? How much was the increase?
Now you're testing me. It was I think it was $21.40. It went up about $40. So about $21.40. And if I'm off by $10 one way or the other. So it did go up a little bit. Thank you for that.
And is there any means testing on the supplement plans, where there's supplement additional monthly charges if you make over a certain amount of money?
So I guess you're referring to the Part B premium and
Yes.
the 104.90 and how that, right. So as I was explaining before, it's a great question. Are there other charges to the supplement as far as a premium if you make more money, like you have to pay more for the Part B premium? The answer is no. You pay, regardless of your income, this is going to be your charge for the supplement. So great question.
On the HDF plan, you said $2,000 deductible. What about copay?
Right, so that,
Oh.
thank you, you put me back on the track. So it's actually $21.80 is the deductible. So let me explain how it works logistically. So we all go to our primary care physician for our annual physical. I'm gonna make up a number, let's say it's $100, ha ha ha. Nobody's laughing today, is it bad, is it me? It's a serious issue. Okay, so let's say it's $100 for your annual physical. The way it works is you have Medicare Part B paying 80% of the $100 charge. They look to your supplement to see if you have the F plan or some other plan. In this example, you have the high deductible F plan. They're going to look at you and say, did you meet your deductible yet? Let's say your answer is no, not at this time. Then they're going to say, please pay me. And so you pay them the 20% piece, which in this example is $20. When you go, however many times you go during the calendar year, and you've spent the $2,180, once you've hit that number, every penny thereafter is covered by the supplement. So to answer your question, whether it be co-pays or whatever it is, office visit, it goes towards the deductible. Once you've met the deductible, then you're covered. Was that clear? Okay. So for those who, when you look at a high deductible plan, like I said, if you are fortunate enough to be very healthy and you don't go visit many doctors, you can see how you can save quite a bit of money. and still know what your finite expense picture might look like in a worst-case scenario. Again, like the regular F plan, you are not bound to picking a primary care physician. You do not need to get referrals for specialists. You can go anywhere in the United States, so there's no real geographic boundaries. Good? Yes?
Ed, I'm just doing the math here, forgive me. Doing the math, and guess my analysis is, why wouldn't everyone just take the the high deductible F plan? Because if you're paying 75 times 12, so now 75 times the number?
Again, I don't want to pigeonhole it to a specific number, but I'm just giving you a range, but we can use this as your example, sure.
Okay, so.
700 times 12 is 900 and,
$900, okay.
okay, thank you.
So let's use $900 plus the 2180, that's $3,000. Compared to the 260 to 300 per month that you said before, which is actually that amount or greater. So if you are fortunate enough.
There's an arbitrage to
Right.
play,
And if you-
absolutely.
But even if you're fortunate enough not to go to the doctor, you're better off with the HDF. And even if you do go to the doctor, you're still better off with the HDF.
And a lot of my clients agree with your thought process and they run to this plan. They think it's the greatest thing because they're saving even more money. So even if they're not healthy, but keep in mind that if they have an episode, and we'll define that as whatever you want to put in there, I don't like putting anything on anybody, we'll just call it an episode, where it's a crazy thing where it's $100,000 in a hospital and it happens in January, realize that you're going to have to pay the whole deductible right then and there in January. Yes?
Isn't there also a feature in the F plan that involves coverage overseas that's not available in the high deductible plan?
And that's a very specific aspect to it, and absolutely, and some,
Okay.
F plans and different companies have different ways of covering it, so yes. So we have to look at the fine print for that.
Right.
Thank you for asking. Does that answer
If you
your,
have an
Steve?
episode at the end of the
Yes.
year, you get paid
What
a
he just
deductible
mentioned
and then
in
an
the
at the
plan,
beginning.
would that affect the premium, that it would be obviously more expensive if it's covering something overseas?
First of all, when we talk about any of the supplements, they're designed to cover you here in the States.
Okay.
When we talk about overseas travel or travel outside the United States, the way, and remember this, I want to share this from my point of view, which is I represent my clients and I represent the insurance companies that I've appointed with. So the information is passed downhill, right? So when I talk to them about these specific questions, the answers that are given to me are, you're covered when you go overseas in an emergency or an accident only. You have to pay for that service when you receive that service overseas out of your own pocket, and you bring the receipts back to the US and turn them into your specific insurance company to get reimbursed. I don't have, out of all my clients, believe it or not, knock on wood in a way, that has experienced the use of any of the supplements overseas. So they tell me, the insurance companies tell me, this is how it looks, this is how it works, but I have no experience to confirm that at this time.
Excuse me,
Go ahead.
why don't people buy insurance when they
It's an
travel?
excellent question, and it's available out there.
Even if I went to New York,
Everybody,
Cover
there's
myself.
obviously additional insurance that you can purchase for one of your trips.
or very inexpensive, they can go high, but.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, my question is this, let's just take the F plan, for instance. You said you represent multiple companies. Is an F plan, no matter what company you're with, identical, or are there differences in the fine print?
They're supposed to be identical. They're supposed to be template plans, but there are some nuances to each plan, and in different areas, there are slight differences. So you have to really look at them to know for sure if there are any nuances that are not to your liking, or for that matter, more to your liking.
Like, could you give us examples of a couple?
Some
of
F
those?
plans in our market do not have a benefit called silver sneakers, what is Silver Sneakers? Silver Sneakers is a benefit that a number of the Medicare plans offer that enables you to go to a health club like an LA Fitness or a YMCA and actually show your card and you come in for free and work out in that club. Use all their facilities, no charge. Some plans offer it, some don't. Some are geographically offering it in some areas and not in others. So that could be an example. And that said, pricing is different. I have a few companies that are, hey Peter, I have a few companies that you know, might be, I told you there's a range for the 65-year-old person coming in. It's like around, I think the least expensive plan is $259 that I know of, and then the most expensive plan I know of is $297. Why the discrepancy? And then that same $297 plan, if you go to Palm Beach, they're $20 cheaper than the $259 plan in Palm Beach. So like, look, insurance is all about statistics and those statisticians and how they figure out those their numbers, and so that's above my pay grade. I'm just the Marine out here sharing the information. So, is that good so far?
Just one question. Is the G plan better than the F plan?
That's an excellent question. Every plan is going to have pros and cons to it from your perspective. So, for purposes of this discussion, I'm not going to get into what's better than another, but what I'll tell you is that you and I can chat offline and figure out if that makes more sense for you or doesn't. But for today, we don't need to do that right now. I just want to keep it really big picture. So getting back to the HDF plan again, I think I mentioned no primary care physician picked, no referrals needed, geographic limitation, there is none in the United States, and you're all good. So pros and cons. Pros, maybe you can say that the premium is a pro. A con, you still have a deductible to deal with potentially, right? But everything else is a pro. I mean, from my perspective, maybe from yours you might see it differently, but I like what I've shared. Once you've picked one of those two plans or any of the 9 in between, then we look at the next part of this bottom right of the triangle, which is called the Part D plan, also better known as the drug plan. The drug plan, there are probably 15 or 20 different companies offering 1 or 2 different drug plans in our market, and they range in price from low 20s as a premium per month to, I know of one plan that was over $100 and something a month. Most plans fall in the $50, $60 range. The difference between the low premium plans and the middle or high premium plans, again, is deductible. The deductible on the low premium plans, I think, is $325 this year. I keep saying I think because I don't like to be specific with numbers, because there's so many plans and there's so many numbers. I leave it to people that work here, because those guys know the numbers. I'll show everybody the numbers, they're in the book, but I just can't remember every number. Anyway, the way these prescription drug plans work, we have to keep in mind that every insurance company that puts out the prescription plan has a number of medications that they have in what's called a formulary, which is their entire inventory of medications that they offer their members or their clients that have subscribed to the plan. And then furthermore, in the formulary, they break down the formulary into what we call as tiers. There's usually 4 or 5 tiers. So depending on where the medication falls, it could be a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and a corresponding copay for each tier. Typically tiers 1 and tier 2 are what we call as generic medications, so their copays are very low, whereas a tier 3, 4, and 5 are progressively more expensive as a copay. So basically what we should keep in mind is when you buy or enroll, I should say, in a prescription drug plan, you're just doing that. there's no real benefit initially, you're just owning a plan. And then when you get prescribed the medication, then you're getting it hopefully at a discount. That's how these plans work. Was I clear in how I said that?
Yeah, just one question. In the drug plan, does the co-pays fall under the deductible or it's separate and apart?
Right, so remember I mentioned that there are really two plans. There's a low premium and then a middle or high premium plan. If you choose the low premium plan, there's a deductible. So basically you have to spend the deductible before you do anything. And then you go into the tiers with the co-pays.
One thing you might mention is you can always check the formulary when you are
Reviewing,
the policy.
absolutely.
You don't-
Thank you
It's
for
not
that.
like a mystery until after you sign up and then they tell you.
And to take that one step further, some of our local pharmacies actually offer a service. Like I know Walgreens, I believe CVS does it as well, where you can take your list of medications that maybe you're being currently prescribed and give that to them, and they'll tell you which prescription drug plan makes the most sense for you and your medications. So just keep that in mind. Now, one of the things I want to share with you about prescription drug plans, there's two very important aspects of drug plans. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I want to at least touch base on it because I think it's important for everyone to understand a basic concept. But we can go into much more detail if you really want to at a later date. The first thing is it's called step therapy. All of the insurance companies are looking towards you to also be, believe it or not, an advocate for the insurance companies. Meaning that if you get prescribed a medication, let's say your doctor says, I want you to get the name brand medication for this, whatever this is. And you hopefully will say, that's expensive. Can we try a generic? Or, doc, can we try a generic? But if you say, no, I must have the name brand, I understand, but we might have to get you to write a letter to the insurance company. So just keep that in mind. And what I mean by step therapy, they like to say it in this way because it's a step. So if you can get comfortable with a generic and your doctor's comfortable with it, go with that as your first step. And if for some reason the generic doesn't work, then we go back and get the name brand. My job is to educate and inform. So this is what you have to be aware of. The second thing that I wanted to touch base on in reference to prescription plans is what people commonly refer to as the donut hole. Has anybody heard of a donut hole? Okay, so I'm going to try and take a run at explaining the donut hole. Most people don't feel bad. They don't get it on the first try. Trust me, it took me a while to get it. I'll give it a go. I'll try my best. If you don't follow, it's okay. Ask me questions or we can talk offline. Either way. So, I mentioned to you that there's a formulary, and I further mentioned that there's a tier system with each tier having their own set of co-pays. There's also what's called, I'll call 3 buckets of cost. So the first bucket is the tier system, the co-pays that you pay. If you take the low premium plan, you pay the big deductible for, not big, just the deductible first. Then you start paying the co-pays. Each drug plan has a different, what's called initial coverage limit. That's the bucket 1. That bucket 1, once you've reached that initial cost or limit, then you move from that bucket into the second bucket.
Isn't that a Medicare limit though?
Every
initial-
insurance company works with Medicare to figure out exactly where they can, so there's different plans have different limits. So for some of the supplements, they were like $29.60 on the year. Some of the Advantage plans, which we're not there
Yeah, the
yet,
advantages are different.
they're much higher,
Yeah.
correct. So, but anyway, this said, once you've spent that amount of money between the insurance company and yourself, then you move into the second bucket. The second bucket is called the donut hole. And the reason why it's called the donut hole is because then that tier system goes away. It's a different tier system. So instead of having 5 different types of co-pays, there's really only 2. There's a co-pay for generic and co-pay for name brands. And they're significantly higher than the co-pays you were paying in the initial bucket. Did I sort of make sense there? Did I lose anybody? Maybe? So once you've spent the 2,900, the first initial coverage limit, you move into the donut hole, you have to now pay a significantly higher copay for your medications. There's also a limit in that donut hole. Once you've spent that limit, then you move into the third and final bucket. Just like if you visualize a donut, you go through the donut part in the top, you go through the hole. Once you go through the hole, you get back to the donut. The copay changes yet again, and that copay is significantly smaller. It's about 5% of the cost of the medication. That's how these prescription drug plans work. Questions? Yes, Peter?
Do they warn the person in advance if they're getting close to the donut hole? Because I know a lot of concerns that we hear is that they just fall in the donut hole, and they don't even know that they're gonna get a lower end once they get through the third bucket.
I really think it's a insurance company by insurance company scenario. Some will, some won't. What I would tell you is that whoever is enrolling your client into a prescription drug plan, to really get a handle on, especially with your clients, you might say, well, look, there's a list of medications here. Let's try and figure out how much you're really paying so we can sort of guesstimate when you may go into the donut hole. So like 30, 60 days before, we could sort of prepare the client for that. And that's what I would suggest. And I would also say to you, if you have a client that gets to that point and it's like November, call the doctors. You never know. Maybe they have samples to get them through the last month. So I don't have to keep, getting more medications.
Or
Yes.
you can go to the drug company sometimes.
Whatever works. I'm all for it. Whatever you can do. I mean, there's people that I know that order medications from Canada. Whatever works for you,
I can see.
The whole idea is to make it easier and better for each of our clients and you guys, the patients. Yes.
If you don't sign up for Part D, the drug plan, do you have to pay full prescription, full retail price for any prescription, as opposed to before you're in Medicare, or whoever your health insurer is, negotiates prices for all the prescriptions you get?
So let's make sure I understand what you're asking me. So let's paint a picture. So let's say you are aging in, or you're already into Medicare, and you've decided in your infinite wisdom to say, I'm not gonna get a prescription medication plan because right now I'm super healthy and I only use medications when I catch a bad cold and I get an antibiotic. So why would I need to pay $25 to $50 a month just to say I own a plan? A lot of clients ask me that, and it's a great question. Is that sort of where you want me to go?
No, it's,
Oh.
if you've already made that decision,
Yes,
and you do have to have, for whatever reason, a prescription,
yes.
do you have to pay full price, retail price for it if you go to Walgreens, as opposed to a negotiated price before you're in Medicare through a normal medical insurance? When you go to Walgreens and you get something, your insurer has negotiated for such and such % off.
So
Is Medicare like that, or is it
You-
now you're 100% if you don't sign up for a Part D?
So what I would tell you is there are a lot of the pharmacy companies out there, I'm talking with the Walgreens, the CVS's of the world, they actually have a prescription discount plan. So for those who maybe don't enroll into a qualified drug plan, they can get their medications through that discount plan. Does that sort of answer your question?
If you don't sign up for that prescription plan through the drugstore, then you do have to pay
Full
100%
price.
of the retail price. Okay, and what kind of pricing is there on the Walgreens and CVS prescription plans?
Well, that's like saying how much is a car. I mean, what I mean is that there's so many different medications, there's no way for me to answer that question. I mean, there's medications that, believe it or not, are, maybe $5, and there's others that are, believe it or not, they're $400 a month.
No, but how much is the prescription plan? You say you need to
Oh,
sign up.
oh,
for a
if you went
prescription
with like
plan,
a
you get
prescription, if you
discount.
went with a discount plan through one of the pharmacy companies,
Mhm.
they usually are no charge. Because they're not qualified plans, they're just their discount plan to entice you to come into their store and buy medications through them. So that's why they've created these plans to help draw in more traffic. And where I wanted to go with, I was sort of using you to bridge into the next topic for me, so thank you for that. That is, there's a lot of clients that I have that are, 65 and you're aging in, whatever, or they're just going into the plans, and they say, look, I'm super healthy, I don't need to get this prescription drug plan, why am I wasting all this money when I don't really need medications? That's fine, your choice, you do not need to buy a prescription drug plan, but be aware of the following law, not an insurance thing. Thank you. Law of the land, and I'm not gonna tell you which party did this, not my business. But what I would say to you is, the law states that if you don't have a credible drug plan when you go into Medicare, and you don't have one, you will, for every month you don't have it, you will be penalized that accrues every month at 1%. So for simple math, and these guys here are all into math and numbers, for every month that you do not have a plan, you're gonna accrue 1% penalty. So if we go from 65 to 70, that's how many months? Thank you. It's 60, not 65. Who said 65? Shame on you. 60 months, that's 60% of a penalty. So when you wake up at 70, in this example, and you have that aha moment, you say, oh, I better get that drug plan because I don't know what's gonna happen next. You're going to have to pay not only the monthly premium, but then a penalty based on the national premium plan pricing, like I said, nationally, at 60% of that number on top of your premium plan.
So if the typical premium is $50 a month, you'd be paying 80.
Correct.
Just, okay,
You did good math.
okay.
Thank you. And that's in perpetuity. So for as long as you're around, you get to enjoy paying that extra little bit. Just so you know, educate and inform is what I want you to be aware of. You don't have to enroll, but know what your downside is.
So
Yes.
The pharmacy plan that you're talking about, the drugstores, that's not a credible plan that,
The word they like to use is qualified plan. But yes, you're correct. They don't qualify as a plan to avoid the penalty. So that's how the bottom right of the triangle works. And now I want to move to the bottom left unless someone has a question or two before I move over there.
he was on your left.
I just have one question about age.
Did I say right? I meant left, but whatever.
When you can first join at 65, what if you're joining at a later age because you're working to 66 or 67? Is there any penalty in the premiums or is there
No,
any changes?
as long as you had credible coverage and that you can share with your Medicare advisor, or if you enroll direct with them to say, look, I was on a group plan, I owned a company, or I worked for somebody and I was on that group plan and I did it through my retirement and I retired at age 75. So I didn't take Medicare Part B because I didn't need it, and so I just sat back and just stayed on the group plan because my firm paid it all. No penalty. You totally covered.
Will you cover the relationship or the decision people have to make at 65 if they continue to work past 65 on continuing with group coverage through their employer versus signing up for Medicare?
I heard a little bit about what you said. I'm not sure what your question was.
Okay, let's say you're 66 years old, you're working, you have group insurance.
Yes.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of staying with group insurance versus
Going on to
into
Medicare. That's an excellent
Okay.
question. So
And I
let me-
hope you'll cover it.
Yeah, I'm going to cover it right now.
Okay.
I can just briefly. I'll do it real quick before we jump over. There's two right off the bat. 1, 2, 3. So the first one is it could be an economic reason. Your current employer might be paying all of your bill for the group coverage and won't let you or won't pay for the Medicare, one. For whatever their reason, they might not do that. So, yeah, you'll stay put, why not, right? Might make sense. There might be an economic driver for you to stay. That's really what I'm trying to say. And the second reason is, and I just had this with a client that we talked about earlier, where they have family on the group plan. And so some of us have family on a group plan that we're the primary, and if we leave as the primary off the group plan to go to Medicare, what does that do to my spouse, my dependents, if I leave? And in most cases, they're off the plan. And so it might not make sense for the primary to leave. It might make economic sense to leave because he or she could make a better decision by leaving, but it would harm the dependents. So in that example, they stay put. They stay put on the group plan.
Staying with the group.
Right.
plan.
And there's no penalty to do such. It's fine.
Okay.
Was that clear?
Yeah.
Good.
But you still have to register with Medicare regardless of whether you take it, you can't just do nothing.
And the answer is really not necessarily, because at 65 they know who you are, they have your social security number, and they're going to ask you, do you want your social security benefits to begin now or not? And they're supposed to ask you the same thing about Medicare Part B. If we go back to my triangle, we have Medicare A and B at the top of the triangle. A we know is free, and B costs for most people $104.90 a month. They're going to ask you, do you want us to flick that switch and start on your birth month? And you could tell them at that point, thank you, but no thank you. I'm staying with my group plan. Good? So, we'll move over to the left. Good? So, again, Medicare A and B. A is the hospitalization, 100% coverage. Part B is your medical/doctor coverage, 80% coverage. Most people pay 104.90 or 90 cents, I'm sorry. Good? So now, once you're paying that 104.90, you have one of two choices, which I explained in my triangle. You either pick the bottom right or you pick the bottom left. I already explained all of the bottom right. Now I'm going to explain the bottom left. The bottom left is called Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage, also not to be outdone by the supplement, Medigap, and Gap policy side with three fabulous names. They wanted to have a second name to add to their repertoire as well, and they call it Part C, as in maybe Charlie, or complete. I like to use complete. Why do I like to call it complete? I like to call it complete because the Advantage plans, different logistically than the supplement plans, whereas the supplement plans, we recall, we have 80% covering by Medicare, 20% covered by your supplement, and then your prescription drug coverage. Three different entities sandwiched over here on the side. The complete or Medicare Advantage plans bundle all that together in one plan and call it Part C. And so what effectively happens is, yes, you're still paying for Medicare Part B, but you select, you the member, the patient, or the insured, pick an insurance company, an Advantage plan from an insurance company, where you actually tell Medicare, look, let's outsource it to this Advantage plan. So you're still paying that $104.90, but Medicare is going to move off to the side. And I like to call it, it hibernates. It doesn't go away. You don't lose Medicare. It's not like you don't have Medicare. You always have Medicare. But what happens is you outsource it to the Advantage company. And the Advantage insurance company that you select is now your 100% insurance provider. There's no 80-20 split and separate drug plan. It's all one company, one size fit all type of thing, Part C. It's all together. Now let's talk about some of the basics to these plans. One, all these plans you must pick a primary care physician. Different than what we talked about on the supplement side. Not all, but most of these plans require referrals to a specialist. Not all, some don't require referrals, but most do. And then 3, they all have a service, what does that mean? A service coverage area, geographically, that's limited to an area. And then the area could be just Dade County, could be Miami and Broward County, it could be the whole state of Florida, but not the entire United States. It's just a service coverage area that's bound by a smaller area than, let's say, the supplements. So, and then furthermore, each of these plans have contracted with doctors, hospitals, and other service providers to keep costs really tight and down. And these doctors and hospitals and service providers become contracted with these insurance providers to be part of their network. And so within their network, if you become a member of this network, you can go to all of those doctors in the network. You must pick a primary, and then you can go to the specialists within that network. So the example I usually like to give is one gets diagnosed with XYZ. Again, I don't like putting names of things out there, but you get diagnosed with XYZ. Lucky for all of us, the best XYZ doctor is right down the street. And so you go and you visit the XYZ doctor. The XYZ doctor, great news. I can take care of this, no problem. And you say, awesome, doc, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I know I'm going to be okay. I really want a second opinion. Do you mind? Of course not. This is how it works. Of course, we're all entitled to get a second opinion. We want to know that we're making the right choice. And lucky for you, as being the best doctor for XYZ, I happen to know the second best doctor for XYZ. And that doctor was my roommate in med school. But that doctor is in Chicago. If you're on an Advantage plan, if you're going to visit the doctor in Chicago, that's on you. If you're on a supplement, you can go. You just go. I mean, you have to pay for the airfare and the hotel and the meals, but you'll be covered when you go visit for that consult, right? But in this example, as on an Advantage plan, and I'm not making fun of an Advantage plan, I'm just saying that's how these are structured. And I'm sorry?
That's a disadvantage.
Well, in that example, yes. But I'm going to share with you one of the biggest pros to the Advantage plans. The premiums, right? I talked about premiums on the supplement side. Who remembers the pricing I gave?
260 to 300.
On the high side, and on the low side was? 75. Thank you. You're paying attention. That's great. On the Advantage side, most plans have 0 monthly premium. Again, as long as you're paying the Part B premium for Medicare. You get this for nothing. No monthly premium, I'm sorry. I want to say it the right way. So that's very advantageous. I mean, think about how much money you're saving. Steve, you want to do the math? How much are we saving?
A lot.
Thank you.
But how much is that doctor in Chicago going to ask you? A for consulting, B for test?
Well, the point I'm trying to make with that example is you're probably not going to go to that doctor. You're going to stick with the best doctor in the world for XYZ, just locally, who's in your plan. And that's how these plans are that's your choice. You have to make a choice between this side or this side. Some people don't mind that, and some people mind it a lot. It's not for me to choose. It's for you to figure out what makes you sleep well at night. And you can make that choice all by yourself. I mean, I'll guide you. I'll give you, I'll help figure out what makes you feel good, and that's what we'll choose. But I just want you to be aware of some of the subtle differences.
And that doctor may not be on the plan 2-3 months down the road.
That's another, right, that's something else. You're about to tell me something.
What about the differences, though, in certain coverages? For instance, my father-in-law is on an HMO, and first we're thinking, oh my goodness, pays the 104.89, whatever, and he's paid 0. He's 92 years old, he's on 7 prescription medications. The only thing he's paid for is $100 taking an emergency room. But he pays nothing. I mean, I look at the bills, I look at it, and I'm like, he's paying nothing. said, he's picked his primary, referrals, his primary makes it very easy to refer them.
These are great plans.
The problem came in, and someone said, well, you should have, if you were on Medicare, you would have had a problem with the physical therapy. Now, that, again, that's one small detail, and saying, well, was it really worth it? We'll pay out of pocket because he hasn't paid for other things. But they said there's a difference. Medicare has very good coverage for physical therapy. In this particular case, his HMO does not. So, like, okay.
And what I would share with you is what's unique about the HMO or the Advantage plans, I will point out, is that, you know, no plan could be everything to everybody. And I think we all realize that in the game of life anyway. You can't be 100% perfect in anything we do. I mean, we hope we can, but we strive to get as close as we can to that as possible. So in that example, for that particular member of the HMO, maybe it's time for that person to look at another plan because their needs maybe have shifted and they should just, you know, take a peek. I'm not saying they should change because at the end of the day, maybe, you know, one thing out of whatever their list of everything else that they get covered might make sense for you, as you point out, if you just pay out of pocket. Because he saved so much over all those years, it might make sense to just stay put. And quite honestly, anytime I meet someone who's 90 plus, I like, you're happy? Great, don't do a thing. You know, it's like, because I don't want to, you know, because the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to call, you said, and I'm like, no, I don't think I did, but, you know, I want to make sure that everybody, you know, understands that there's no, you know, nirvana here. There's nothing that's perfect.
Well, and also in reference to what you mentioned, his primary care doctor was canceled by the HMO he had been carrying, and the primary care worked with us through someone to choose another plan, and it made it very seamless. You know, at first we were panicking.
Right. And why I think that for me, as I, you know, get to meet more and more people, whether they be at the, you know, enrollee level or at the referral level, you know, I hear these stories and people just get all nervous and scared, and understandably so, but that's why I feel like I have a role here. I have the opportunity to help, and that's why, you know, I like doing what I do. I feel like I'm giving back because I can really help and make people feel at ease that maybe it's time to change. And keep in mind that on the Advantage Plan world, or in the Advantage Plan world, things change. I mean, you guys read the papers or read the internet or watch TV. I mean, a lot of it's like noise, but you got to keep in mind, things change all the time. The world is rapidly changing. Who would ever think that, you know, and I don't want to get political, but like somebody like Mr. Trump is now involved in the political arena. So, you know, all these things happen, and we have to be educated and informed and pay attention because things change. And we have to make sure that we pay attention because if not, we could be left behind. We want to make sure we're always on the cutting edge. And that's what I do. There's been a lot of talk and rumor about that $104.90 for Part B premium. It's going up. It's going up by 50%. That's a huge difference. Like, who started that rumor? I don't know. But that's the rumor. So I did all my research. Right now, nobody knows. The information comes out in October. So just pay attention to the news in October. I'm sure someone will let you know, or you can call me. I'll know when it comes out in October. Because that's what it is every year. Every year they look at, do we make any changes? In 14 and 15, there were no changes to that Part B premium. Now, if you learn that Social Security gets a COLA, in other words, cost of living adjustment, up, then there's a good chance that the Part B premium will also go up. So that's just how it works. You know, you put it in one pocket, take it out of the other, and that's just what the world is. But at least you'll know. You know, we'll just pay attention to those type of things that are coming down the pike. Yes.
About Medicare Advantage plans, do any of them make an attempt to replace the group insurance benefit of offering coverage to dependents?
It's a good question. So the question really is, if you want to leave group coverage where you are and you want to come to an Advantage plan, do the Advantage companies sort of help out and bring in your dependents? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking? And the short answer is no.
Okay.
Remember, Medicare is really a plan, generally speaking, big picture speak, is that it's for everyone 65 and older.
I understand that, but they compete with the Advantage companies compete with each other.
Think of it as an
and so,
octopus, and the arm number 1 doesn't talk to arm number 7. It's separate. It's just separate.
Yeah, okay.
I have a question. Is there any difference much between the doctors who are in the Medicare Advantage plan and those that are in the straight Medicare?
On the supplement side. You know, a lot of people will tell you that there's a huge difference. What I'll tell you is that, you know, every doctor is entitled to earn a living, and some doctors feel more comfortable on an Advantage side, some feel more comfortable on a supplement side, some like to open their book to everything. So I don't really have an answer to that. It's whatever the doctor wants to do. I would tell you that in the world of Advantage plans, it's very competitive, and you know, Advantage companies want their book to grow, because the more members, the more money they make. And so, you know, they're going to ask their doctors that want to be part of that plan to get more members. And if they don't, they may nicely say, but they're not, I don't know if they, you know, they're going to or not, but it could happen. And that's why you hear about my doctor was dropped. Well, it might not be because the doctor was failing at getting more members. It maybe just their book of clients, you know, maybe they moved and now their book changed, and instead of having, you know, 25% with United Healthcare, 25% with Blue Cross, 25% with Humana, and 25% with, you know, the fourth company, whatever that one is. And then all of a sudden the world changed, and, you know, his book is 80% Blue Cross. Well, you know, it wasn't his fault or her fault, the doctor, it just happened. So, you know, things happen, things change.
Other than the fees that the doctors in the Advantage plans earn, are there other compensation that comes from the Advantage plan to the service providers?
And so what I would say to you is, I'm more of the Marine, I'm on the front line, and I would just say that I share with you the information about what they share with me with the plans. That's the back office, the back side. I don't play on that side. So I don't really know a lot on the back side. You know, that's over there. I'm the guy up the front, and I try and share with you everything they give me to share with you.
Can you switch from the traditional Medicare to the Advantage plans?
So that's an excellent question. And so let me actually, that's a great bridge to the next part. And that is, when one enrolls into Medicare for the first time, you know, it's really kind of nice. For the most part, on the supplement side, there are no medical questions. So you have what we call a guarantee issue, guarantee underwriting. You're in. On the Advantage plan, there's one medical question, and that is, do you have end-stage renal disease? If you can say no to that, you're in. Different than the Affordable Care Act, commonly referred to as Obamacare, where they say no pre-existing conditions. That's for everybody 64 and under. When we talk about Medicare 65 and older, other than the example I just gave, there could be medical questions. So the first time you go in, I told you there's only one medical question on the Advantage side, no medical questions on the supplement side. Let's pick the supplement side first. You're on the supplement, you stay on the supplement 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, and you say, wow, why am I paying all this money? I could be 92 and not pay anything. And I go into an Advantage plan. The only question they'll ask you, do you have end-stage renal disease? You can say no, you're in. 1 year later, you realize you made a mistake because you don't like it for whatever your reason. You want to go back to the supplement side? Medical questions. And the medical questions will not change your premium. They'll just, if you say yes to anything, you'll be denied. If you start with the Advantage plan, Again, just end-stage renal disease is the question. You're on it 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever, and then you want to go to a supplement, you will be asked medical questions. Now, I will give you one example where if you choose an Advantage plan and it's your first time into Medicare, first time, you have a window of 12 months. And if you go into an Advantage plan in the first 12 months, for whatever reason, you're not happy, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, we can get you onto a supplement. No medical questions. The rest is above my pay grade, you're on your own. I'm kidding. I hope this was helpful. I'm here, I don't know how we're doing on time. So, does anybody have more questions? Any other questions? I just really wanted to take you on that, helicopter ride through Medicare, give you the basics. Oh, there's one more thing on the Advantage side. I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. The prescription drug plan.
No, do you have a copay
On the Advantage side?
Advantage?
Yeah, so every plan is different. Some have copays and some don't,
Some do.
depending on which benefit there is.
Perhaps.
I didn't mention anything about the drug plan. The drug plan, I told you, was included at no monthly premium on these Advantage plans. Not all Advantage plans, but most of them. So instead of paying a round numbers $50 for the supplement side prescription plan, over here they're included, no additional charge. And they have a very similar setup. So you have the formula, you have the step therapy, you have the donut hole, you have the initial coverage limit that gets you into the donut hole, and then the catastrophic is the third bucket. So we have all those things going on, just like you do on the supplement side. Some of these Advantage plans have very unique selling points where maybe the initial coverage limit and that first bucket we talked about is very rich. So on the supplement side, there might be initial coverage limit of, on an annual basis, let's say $2,900 as total dollars out of pocket you can spend for medications. But on some of the Advantage plans in the prescription part of the plan, the initial coverage limit is I've seen as high as $7,000. So if someone's on a lot of medications, this might be very advantageous for that particular person. Yes?
Let's say you're in a supplement, but you want to change companies. Do you have that questionnaire every time you change companies, or once you're in a supplement plan, you're okay?
The short answer is you have to answer the medical questions.
So you better pick the right company to begin with, and down the road you have problems.
Even if you're staying in the F plan?
Correct. If you go, every company's a little bit different. So let's say you pick company 1, and let's say they have the F plan and they have the other 10 plans. Some companies allow you to switch in between each of the plans with no medical questions, and you can change anytime you want. No questions, no problems, just switch. Right? Some plans, if you're on an F plan and you want to go to an F plan at the other company, if it's a different company, you will be asked medical questions. And for the most part, the phrase is called entry age. So whatever age you enter into the supplement is the age that you will be the entire time you're in the plan. So if you enter, let's say at age 65, your entrance age premium might be $260 a month, right, to pick the F plan. And what typically happens is anytime there's a premium increase, which of course there's always increases at times, right? I would tell you that there's one particular company hasn't had a rate increase in 3 years. So you'd be very happy to be in that plan for those 3 years. If you switched after 3 years to go to company number 2, same F plan, and you were able to answer all the medical questions, no problems, and you get into it, your entrance age is no longer 65. Your entrance age now is 68. And so your premium is going to be higher, significantly. Was I clear on how I said that?
Yeah.
Is that the same for the Advantage plan?
remember the Advantage plans, when we talk about premiums, most of the Advantage
That's why we
plans,
don't have-
they have 0 monthly premium. Most of the plans in our market.
I'm sure they look at your age also, though, no?
Not really,
No?
because there's no premium, so they have nothing
But you only
to.
get more costlier likely to be, right?
Agreed, that's generally how it works, but it's not how they're organized and how they're set up.
Okay.
I just want to say to the group, I work in the senior care and home care business for 16 years in the Tri-County region. Your presenter today is one of the most thorough and educated guys, gals in this, and I mean what I say. I've been working with him for about 6 years back and forth with clients and families, and he explains it within layman's terms and also is really compassionate about helping you so that your stress levels are down. And trust me, I get asked a lot about this. I'm not in it, I'm the home health care side of it. We refer to that, and I say that with my heart, so.
Thank you,
excellent.
I didn't pay him.
I know. That's later.
Yes,
After that, did you give us your phone number?
I have up here, I have my business cards, you're more than welcome to help yourself. So if you'd like, you
Great.
afterwards come by. I actually have, you know, it's funny, we do things, like if you asked me when I was 16, 20 years old, what will you do when you get older? It's like, I'm a Medicare guy. You know, like, no way, right? But I take it one step further. I've coined the phrase Medicare Matt, and it sort of stuck, and it's just fun. You know, now I'm having fun with it. So like I even got, my email is matt@medicarematt.com, and I have a website, medicarematt.com, and it's just like, it's just fun, you know, it's like I'm enjoying it. So I hope that comes through when I present, because I want to make sure I really do what I say I do, which is to educate and inform. I want to make sure everybody just gets it. And I hope that was helpful. Good?
Thank you, Matt. Folks, thanks for coming. If you parked in the garage here in the building, please go to Natalie. She'll go ahead and validate your ticket.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll be here if you want to, you know, ask other questions.
What did you want to jump in? You'll find out. You'll find out the correct answer. You're afraid of being wrong. That's what it is.